Hi, I'm your host, Marsha Florence for Just Dance. Today's show, ladies and gentlemen, is the Scleroderma Foundation, the Michigan chapter. Hurry back and join us. Hi, I'm your host, Marsha Florence for Just Dance. Today's show, ladies and gentlemen, is the Scleroderma Foundation, the Michigan chapter. And we have the president herself, Katie Rehrauer, and a board member, John Michalski. Good morning, you two.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Now, I have to tell you, we did a show with you guys over 10 years ago, and we just had to have you back because I had a phone call from a dear friend who has scleroderma. So I thought it would be the best time to renew information, okay, and make people more aware of what is scleroderma. So before we get to that, Katie, can you tell us about your title and what you do there at Scleroderma Foundation?
Absolutely. Well, thank you for having us this morning. I'm currently serving as board president for the chapter. I've been involved with the chapter for 5 years now. I've served as president for 1. It's been a wonderful experience. My relationship with the chapter is long-standing. My paternal grandmother had scleroderma, so my grandfather served as a volunteer more than 20 years ago. I remember going to their annual walk that they have the first weekend of every June. Very fond memories of that. After my grandmother passed, our relationship with the chapter sort of fizzled, and about 5 years ago I was reunited with the chapter, fortunately, and it's been a pleasure serving on their board.
Okay, and John?
Just like a lot of our board members, there's some emotional ties. My late wife was diagnosed with scleroderma in 1998, and she served on the board for many years as like Katie was president for a while. She was treasurer. She was a board member, and we've been active in participation in events for the last 13 years, and I just joined the board this year to keep my late wife's legacy going.
That's wonderful. Okay. Now, a lot of people do not know what scleroderma is, so can you fill us in on what is scleroderma?
Yeah, scleroderma is a rare disease. It's a chronic autoimmune connective tissue disease in which the body's immune system attacks its own tissue. So as a result, the body overproduces collagen, which can cause both the internal and external organs to thicken, the tissues of those organs to thicken and harden. Scleroderma actually translates to hard skin in Latin. So our patients deal with a lot of organ failures and damage and things like that. And currently there is no known cause or cure for scleroderma.
Okay, okay. So what population actually gets scleroderma?
Well, the population is, I hate to say, is 80% normally are female, but it doesn't discriminate against race or sex. Is that children will get it. It's more rare, but also the same with men will get it. And the issue or the thing about scleroderma is it will develop with different patients differently. So there is no set, diagnosis for how it will affect any individual.
Okay. And so now I know you guys are not medically inclined to answer this question, but it being 2 different types, localized?
Yeah, generally speaking, there's 2 different types of scleroderma.
Okay.
There's the localized and the systemic. Localized typically is limited to one organ or part of the body, where systemic can be more severe for the whole body.
Okay, okay. But a lot of times when you see someone and if they have scleroderma, they're not going to tell you that that's their condition unless you recognize some of the symptoms, or if you just generally want to ask a person, what is your condition. So the hardening of the skin is that like the facial features, the hands, and things like that?
It's different for every patient.
Okay.
A lot of times scleroderma is characterized as kind of that invisible disease where it can affect just the internal organs. But for people who have scleroderma and it affects their skin, it can cause the tightening around the hands, so they have very limited use of their digits in their hands, which can be crippling. I know John can speak more about that.
Yeah, that's very common, is that, like I mentioned, tightening of the skin when you have it on the outside, and you'll see the digits as being, the hands you'll see them start contracting.
Right.
Okay. And also is the other secondary causes, and that's one of the things that scleroderma causes, is other diseases. One of them is Raynaud's, and that's one of the where you're losing circulation. And a lot of the patients you will see are very affected by the cold. So you'll see many scleroderma patients wearing gloves or sweaters when it's 72 degrees outside because of the Raynaud's syndrome.
Okay, okay. So in essence, when a person is recognized to have scleroderma, how is the family affected? Is there a support group? Does the foundation offer any type of support group?
Yeah,
for the
so our 3 pillars for our foundation are support, education, and research. And the Michigan chapter has done a wonderful job of providing many different support resources for those affected, both the patients and their family members. We have support groups throughout the state, both in person as well as a virtual support group. So as John mentioned, the colder months can be very hard for that population. So having a virtual support group allows people to get on the phone and talk to other patients and talk about different topics for every group. There's also a webinar series that we have where different medical professionals host every other month, and they talk about different things that affect scleroderma patients and their families. So we have a lot of resources, all of which are on our website, scleroderma.org/Michigan, where people can learn about the support groups that may be near them and get information on how to log on to the virtual support group, as well as the webinars.
Okay, okay. That's
If
wonderful.
I could just add one
Sure.
thing, is one of the things that, besides the patient, it's the caregiver, is that you will find, and an example is that you learn as you go along, but there are things that are being done within the Michigan chapter to help that mechanism as being the caregivers. Matter of fact, I participated within a national study to try to document and things that we can do to help the caregivers, because it is very tough on them, because they feel helpless as the patient does, because being a guy, we always want to fix something, and we can't fix it.
Okay, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. So, how many people you say in Michigan is affected by scleroderma?
So we believe there's over 10,000 who have been diagnosed, but because it is relatively rare and it's not a very well-known disease, there's probably more. So we work with over 10,000 people throughout the state right now.
And I guess when you use the facts that we use as 1 out of every 906 people, and you say, well, that's all 1 in 1,000 type of thing. But if you think about it, if you think of, many people from Michigan understand the University of Michigan's football stadium, that represents basically 10 rows of 12 people in each row standing up and saying, I have scleroderma. And so that's a large number. And that's a lot of people that it affects.
That is. Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to take a break, and ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back with some more good information about the Scleroderma Foundation, the Michigan chapter. We'll be right back.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. Stop the texts. Stop the wrecks.
And welcome back to the second half of the show. Now, those who are just now tuning in, we have the president and a board member, John and Katie, from the Scleroderma Foundation, the Michigan chapter. And ladies and gentlemen, get your pen and paper out, because we're going to ask them for their website as well as their phone number. You may have a loved one who is diagnosed early on with scleroderma, and you're confused, don't know what to do, don't have any support, may not be sure, and this agency here will be able to guide you to some useful tools. So without further ado, I want to get your website and your phone number. So website?
Yes, so our website is scleroderma.org/Michigan.
Okay. And phone number?
I was going to say, is you want to spell scleroderma, so in case?
I certainly can.
Okay.
It's scleroderma.org/Michigan.
Okay. And phone number?
I'm going to read it so I make sure we get it right. It's 248-595-8526. And I'll repeat that.
Okay.
248-595-8526.
Okay, it'll be at the bottom of the screen. Thank you. Okay, okay. No, well, you know, some people want to help. They want to volunteer. So is that the same number they can use in the
Sure.
website if they want to volunteer as well?
Yeah.
Okay, some people want to help and volunteer, and some people need some resourceful information, which we're going to go over the information you got on the table shortly. But let me ask you this: so, what does the Michigan chapter offer?
So our mission is to provide support, education, and research in regards to scleroderma. But our biggest mission is to provide support for those affected by scleroderma, both the patients and their families. We have many, many resources on our website. Our executive director, Laura Dias, is fabulous. She's the one who you'll be speaking to if you call our office. John can talk a little bit more about our specific resources.
Oh, yes.
But we just want to support and let people know who are affected by this disease that they are not alone. There are many people in the state who are here to support them and guide them through this process, because it can be a challenge, and we understand that, and we want to do whatever we can to make the process easy and support people any way we can.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, it's you know, over the last 10 years, speaking about Laura Dias, our executive director, has gathered the information on doctors. One of the problems 10, 15 years ago is just finding a doctor to diagnose the scleroderma condition correctly, or to find a doctor who wanted to deal with it. And just on our website alone, we have a PDF file. I know people who have computers can download it. We have over 120 pages referring to doctors, from cardiologists, pulmonologists, gastrologists, rheumatologists, and we have it broken down not just by the doctors themselves. We have it broken down by the areas, the cities that they're in. So it's a great guide to get people to the doctors that can help them treat this condition, not cure it, but treat it.
Okay, because a lot of times if you go into your MD and you say something's wrong, and he said, I don't see anything, and well, we'll run tests, we'll take blood. Once you get the diagnosis, do you need to get the referrals for a team of doctors because you know that it's going to spread or affect areas?
The number one key, and I can speak for, since I went through it with my wife, was that you have to establish a baseline. You want to start off with a good rheumatologist to allow you to determine your condition, but you also have to check the heart. You have to check the lungs. You want to check your tissues. And one of the things that people don't forget is that check the internal organs as your digestive system. So once you've been diagnosed, establishing a baseline allows the doctors then to monitor the effects that scleroderma will have on you as the years go by. We have there's over 85% of the patients have over a 5-year survival rate. Example, my late wife was diagnosed in '98, and she lived for 19 years. So, like I said, we all have to pass eventually, but like I said, it is something that you can live with.
Okay, all right. That's helpful and hopeful news for persons with scleroderma, because anything that you hear about from the doctor, it just takes the wind out of you, and all of a sudden you don't think you're going to live past the next day or the next month and everything, and you're trying to go through life real fast, and you really don't have to.
You don't have to, but a great point that you make, and I'll mention this to any patient out there: if you go to the doctors, do not go alone. Always take someone else to be your eyes and ears. Because just like you said, you hear the bad news and you shut down. So you need someone else there to be listening for you. So that's one tip I learned.
That's a great advice.
And that's one of the great things about the support groups that we offer. John's wife, Eileen, I was able to serve with her on the board, and she lived life to the fullest. And there are so many other patients out there who have similar stories, who are given a pretty grave diagnosis. And they're out there running our support groups and living life to the fullest. And it's so important that people who are newly diagnosed and their families reach out to those communities to learn how to navigate the journey and live life to the fullest.
Yes, that is true. So now let me ask you this. I know that if, there's a support group, are children a part of the support group? Because
Yes.
children really don't know what to think. All they know is mom, dad is real ill, that's that. So
Yes, absolutely. We're actually working really hard to grow our support for juveniles who have been diagnosed as well as family members. So we actually have 2 board members who are mothers of juvenile patients, and we have a lot of other people who are very involved in the chapter who are parents of juveniles. But some of our support groups and some of our webinars talk specifically to family members of those who are diagnosed. So there's an opportunity for children to come to those webinars and those support groups to learn about how they can support their family member and loved one.
Okay. Now, is diet a major concern for a person with scleroderma?
Yes, no, normally because as I mentioned, you'll have problems on the, gastritis is that basically some of the patients can't tolerate the garlic or the onions or the hotter type of spices, because what happens is that they'll end up developing an ulcer in their because of the esophagus, because the body is not working as well as it should, pushing the food down, and so it'll sit there, especially in the when people go to sleep at night. That's why a lot of times the patients will be told to sleep in an upright position.
Okay. Okay. And I know dairy is almost like a no-no.
Yeah, it can have impacts like that.
Yeah.
But that's one of the things that about this horrible disease is that it does affect each patient differently, and there's not a set diagnosis or cause or an effect of it, but these are the common things that we have seen through not just my personal experience, but dealing with hundreds of patients in the past.
Right, because when you have a condition, it's like almost like diabetes. Some people can't eat bananas, but some people can. Some people can eat cantaloupe, some people can't. So when you tell the person you're not supposed to have that, and they get angry, that's what they can have. But the other person who has diabetes cannot have that same item, such as a banana or something. So with the scleroderma, as far as the diet is concerned, is there a roadmap for how they should eat or what they can eat?
We actually have a lot of resources on our website. We have newsletters 2 times a year, and a lot of times those articles focus on different recipes and different things to work into your diet to help with inflammation, things to avoid.
Okay.
So there are a lot of resources on the website to talk about the different types of foods and diet to consider.
Okay, and that's important. I think when when you're going through something, people lose their appetite a lot of times, and the family members say, "Well, they're not eating," and then you're trying to find out what to feed a person. Do you have the food broken all the way down? What is it called? Pureed. And a lot of people don't want to eat the food pureed. I never ate roast beef pureed. I'm not going to eat it. Right? I mean, mashed potatoes maybe, but anything else, like, that's my meat. I don't want it pureed. So and you're trying to help. You're not trying to hurt, but the person is so depressed about the condition themselves that they don't see that all the things that their loved ones are trying to do is really helpful, because it's painful for them to see you help.
Yeah, it's important just to, how can I say, ask the patient, ask the person, saying, do you have any dietary restrictions when you're making, when inviting someone over for dinner? And like I said, you will find out, and people are very, very helpful. And even at restaurants, if you tell a restaurant ahead of time, and they will help you out as being segregating your food and things like that to make sure that it doesn't get cross-contaminated. Okay. So just, like I said, just be careful and just help the person.
Okay. Well, you guys have been great. So I tell you what, we're going to take a break, and ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back with some more information.
Everybody needs a helping hand. Take a look at your fellow man. Tell me, what can I do today?
Courtesy. Pass it on from the Foundation for a Better Life.
And welcome back to the last half hour of the show. Ladies and gentlemen, I tell you this has been a wonderful experience to hear the updates of the services that the Scleroderma Foundation, the Michigan chapter, has to offer. We did a show several years ago, and it's nothing like being refreshed, because today's generation need to know what they're facing and what services are available out there. So we're going to piggyback on some more information, but before we do that, I want to go over some things on the table because somebody at home probably saying, what is all that? Okay, so if someone was at home looking at this program and needed some information about scleroderma, what's in this book?
Yeah, so that was written by Dr. Maureen Mays, who is an incredible resource and doctor. She's one of the pioneers in scleroderma research. But it's all about understanding and managing scleroderma. All those resources are on our website, but that's a really good go-to guide about understanding what scleroderma is and the steps to take to manage it. So it would be a very helpful resource for somebody who was just diagnosed.
Okay, and the brochure here?
Yeah, that's just some general information again about what scleroderma is, the services that the chapter provides to people. It's just a really quick at a glance.
Okay, now everybody's not computer savvy, so they can actually get this in the mail.
Absolutely. Email us, call us, we can send you what you need in the mail.
Okay. And I see you guys have a newsletter. So how often does the newsletter come out?
We do. So actually, we're no longer printing a newsletter, but we have 2 editions, a summer edition and a winter edition. So now we are sending out emails to our database, about 3 or 4 emails throughout the month of July and August, with about 3 articles in each email, and then again in January and February.
Okay, okay. And now this assortment of beautiful T-shirts here, I'm just in awe about these T-shirts. So I know that you guys have been in existence for quite some time. So let me see, the beautiful blue one at the top is your 2018
Stampede Scleroderma. So we're really excited because 2019 is our 40th year, but this is last year's walk t-shirt. So our theme is Stampede Scleroderma, and every year the last 5 years, although it's our 40th walk, the Stampede Scleroderma theme, because our walk is hosted at the Detroit Zoo the first Sunday of June every year. So every year we featured a new animal, and they're really fun, bright t-shirts. We love them. John has an assortment from the last 20 years, I think, and he wears them everywhere so that when people see the word scleroderma, they ask him what it means. But yeah, they're really fun t-shirts, and anyone who comes to the walk automatically gets one.
So if this one's polar bear, no telling what we're going to see next time. We'll keep it a secret.
Yeah, we'll keep that.
Okay.
But it's as you talked to walk, it's important that people understand we also have a 5K run, and that's part of the event. And what's really nice about it is, I'll plug Huntington Woods because they have been great to us over the last 10 years, where we run through their streets, and it's a beautiful community of tree-lined streets, and and we have police escorts, and like I said, we have just a fun time with it.
Okay.
Yeah. And the thing about the walk that's wonderful is it celebrates patients, both present and past. A lot of people come back every year and treat it as a family reunion of sorts. So we have people who come from across the country and come to this walk every year. Over 1,100 people have come the last few years, and it's a great family-friendly event. So even if you don't know about scleroderma, you have no relation, we encourage you to come because you get the t-shirt, you get to enjoy the rest of the day at the Detroit Zoo. There's children-friendly activities. There's medical professionals speaking about scleroderma. There's just a wide range of things to enjoy, food, beverages, all of that. I think it's my favorite.
Can't wait to June. Look, can't wait to June. I mean, I've attended before, so can't wait to June.
Oh, we're looking forward to seeing you.
I think it's important too, is because it really enforces for the patients and their caregivers that there's an opportunity. They're not alone. Whether or not you're a juvenile or whether or not you're 85 years old. And like we mentioned earlier, it's the whole gamut. But it always hits the soul a little bit harder when you see it with a juvenile or a child, because you say they've got so much more to live, which they still do, but they're going to be carrying something with them. They got a new friend that's always going to be with them that they can't get rid of. So
now I'm going to ask you some information or questions about juvenile scleroderma, but I want to comment on this article here that John was gracious enough to bring in, and this is a photo of who?
That is my wife and her daughter, Jasmine. And the premise behind the article was, as I mentioned earlier, my wife passed January of 17. Well, as I was at home going through things, I came across this journal, and which I didn't know she was doing.
Okay.
And it really documented the, how can I say, the trouble or the issues that patients had. In other words, simple things that we talked about earlier, the hands and stuff, being able to pick up change, being able to go down on the floor, play with grandkids. But that's not to say that when you get scleroderma, it's a debilitating, you're stuck at home or anything else. The same year that she passed, we went to Europe. We did a 14-day cruise. So we went to Australia the year before. We did a lot of traveling, active traveling. We went to Machu Picchu. She was at elevations of 13,000 feet without oxygen.
So we don't want people to feel as though when you have scleroderma, you have to stay home.
That is correct. It is a disease that, yes, is a pain in the butt, but the idea is that you still go live life.
Okay. And so activities and exercise is a plus.
Absolutely. I mean, we really encourage, and that's something else, the resources we have on our website, exercises for if you have scleroderma, yoga for if you have scleroderma. And I think those people who stay active and stay positive have really lived life to the fullest, like Eileen did.
Yeah, I mean, that's activity, being active in your exercises as being, the yoga is an important one. She did walk, she did ellipticals, and like I said, riding the bicycle. Simple things, but like I said, as we all know, just getting out and walking a mile or 2 miles a day.
That's great. Now, before we wrap up, I did have a question. When we kept using the word juvenile, which is really teenage years for someone who would have scleroderma, if they had it as a teenager or have it as a teenager, is there anything in particular a parent should be doing with their children to keep them active, to keep them going, or are they able to go to school?
Oh, absolutely. And it's not just teenagers. We have juveniles who are active in the chapter and advocating for us and spreading awareness as young as, I think, starting at 8 or 9 years old most recently. And we encourage parents to talk to one another. There's groups out there for parents that the Michigan chapter is involved with, but they can still go to school. They just need to, some of them have to go to doctor's appointments a few times a week, and it's challenging, but these children are the most inspirational people you'll ever meet in your whole life. They go to their doctor's appointments at 6 o'clock a.m. and then they go to school and they participate in activities. Sometimes they might not be able to run as fast as the other children or participate as fully as the other children, but we recommend that parents keep their children active and live as normal of a life as possible, and these kids thrive. They're absolutely amazing.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful, because we don't want people to feel as though my child has this condition, he or she needs to stay home, being schooled at home and things like that, because it's hard enough to have a condition, but do your best to enjoy or to relax and live your life as best as possible.
And the main thing that we want to stress is that, yes, we understand it's not curable, but it's manageable, and you can live a fulfilled life, and you can enjoy what you have. It's not a time to go into a cocoon. It's still work with people, your doctors, work with your support groups, work with the other people who suffer, and you know what? There's a lot more help out there than you believe.
And work with your family.
You betcha.
Okay. Well,
And we're here to help you along the way.
You two have given a wealth of information today. I greatly appreciate you both. I truly greatly. So I need to ask one more time for that website and the phone number.
Yes, our website is scleroderma.org/Michigan.
Okay.
That's scleroderma.org/Michigan.
And that phone number, just to make sure I get it right,
Okay.
248-595-8526, and that's 248-595-8526.
Okay, thank you so much. Well, Katie and John, I hope you come back and see us again.
We would love to.
Okay, and keep us posted of all events.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know about you, but I always tell you I learn something new every day. So those of you who have a family member that has been diagnosed with scleroderma, please get the number from the bottom of the screen or in the credit rolls. And if not, give us a call, 1-800-323-5336, 1-800-323-5336, Twitter, hashtag Marsha, whatever it takes to get to me, to get to them. All right, I'm your host, Marsha Florence for Just Ask, and what do I always say? If you know a person with a disability or if you just have a general question, don't be afraid to ask, just ask. I'm your host. Thank you.